Hi everyone, we're on 4.3 lesson 30, and it says I can solve division problems with 0 in the dividend or with a 0 in the quotient. So remember, if it's a dividend, it's our number we start with. So if it was 395 divided by 2, this is our dividend, right? The number we start with. If we have 0 in the quotient, then that's the number that we're going to end with, right? So that would be our answer, would be our quotient. So we're going to have zeros in both those places, and we're going to see what do we do differently or how do we solve it the same. So let's start with our first problem, problem number 1. We have 804 divided by 4. And remember, we're working towards standard algorithm, so we're going to be using standard algorithm today in our notes. If you think you know how to solve this, you can pause the video. This is going to be a really quick practice for what we're going to do in class tomorrow. So I'm going to take my 804 and I'm going to put it in the house. I'm going to put my divisor 4 on the outside. So already, are we seeing a 0 in our dividend or are we seeing a 0 in our quotient? Well, we haven't had our quotient yet, so we don't know, but I do see a 0 in my dividend. So we're going to see how we solve that. So my first step is I'm going to say how many times can 4 fit into my first number, which is 8. 800s, right? So if I skip count by 4s, 4, 8, I know that it goes in perfectly 2 times. Okay, and if we need to, we can always do our skip counting on the side. I can do 4, 8, 12, and just list them down here so I have them as I go. 4 times 2 is 8. Put my 8 down here. Minus, I get 0. Bring down my 0. So then we just ask ourselves the same thing we normally would. How many times does 4 go into the number that we get, which is 0? Well, 4 goes into 0 times. I do not have enough, right? So that was my 0 up here. And then we do our steps. 4 times 0 is 0. Minus is 0. And bring down our next number. So how many times does 4 go into our new number, which is 4? If I skip count, it's just 1 time. 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 0. Okay, so we don't even get a remainder or anything. Our answer has a 0 in its quotient, 201. I'm going to check mine. Remember to check, we just take our divisor and multiply it by our quotient. So 201 times 4. 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 2 is 8, which checks out. Okay, so let's try the same thing on our next one. So here we have a 4-digit number that we're going to be dividing by 3. So I'm going to put my number in the house, 4,218, and my 3 on the outside. So I don't have a 0 in my dividend, so that kind of gives me a clue. If my objective is that I'm going to have a 0, I'm probably going to have a 0 somewhere in my quotient, so something to think about as we solve. So first step is how many times does 3 go into 4? Well, if I skip count, 3, 6, I can already see 6 is going to be too big, so it's only going to go in 1 time. We always want to remember to put how many times we're multiplying on the top, because that's our quotient, right? We need to follow that. I'm going to add a comma because I know I'm going to need a comma there. So 3 times 1 is 3. I subtract, I get 1, bring down my 2. So how many times does 3 go into my new number, 12? Well, I have 3, 6, 9, and then 12. So I actually get the number 12. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So 4 is going to go on the top. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract, I get 0. Bring down my next number, which is 1. So how many times can 3 fit into 1? Well, if I look at even just 1 time, it's too big, right? 3 is already going to be too big for this. So 3 fits into 1. How many times? 0 times. So there's that 0 in our quotient. 3 times 0 is 0. Minus, I get 1. Bring down my 8. So now I have 3 into 18. So I'm going to skip count. I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So how many times is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Minus 0, no remainder. So there's that 0 in my quotient. I'm going to check to make sure I got it right. I'm going to take my 3, multiply it by my quotient, 1,406 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. I can use this to help me. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1, 1. 3 times 4 is 12. And 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1, 4, which is what we started with. So checks. All right, so this is just a little bit of extra practice, just looking at our zeros and how that changes our division problem, but we're still following those same steps. So we'll practice this again tomorrow in class, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.